why that looks like that is.
It's your camera's not.
No, but like, why can't you see, why can't I see us? Like I see here, up here.
Up to view.
I tried this before. Either way, you're going to share screen, right?
See, well. I know, it's like Mishlove, but too Luddite to listen.
I'm gonna start admitting people, and I'm gonna get something to do this second. I'll put that now.
You have a copy of the program, the book from,
Salute.
from the,
From Salute.
Salute to Teachers.
Yeah, yep, that have to be Nicole, I was in
Yeah.
Israel, I wasn't there. I wasn't there at all.
I'd like to kind of see what I missed.
Me too, I actually like to book too.
Oh, you haven't seen the book? No, there's plenty at work.
Can you bring one for me, Nicole?
Of course. There we go.
I'm so excited to be at a lunch learning and not teaching it. That's kind of cool.
Are you Mandy? I'm Kai. Oh, you're Kai. Okay, who's Mandy?
Mandy's on, she works at Gardner Mequon. She's online.
Okay.
Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Welcome.
I don't think she wants to sign. Okay. I'm not getting any credits. No stipend for me.
I'll tell you what I need.
I like that. No problem.
I got it when I was hired. It's very nice.
People are in.
Right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
5. We'll give them just a minute or two.
Okay.
Did Heather tell you how many to expect in the room?
Heather said it might be a little scarce today. That,
Especially that I can.
I do know that we should be expecting a couple more people online. Hi.
Hi.
Come on in.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hey, Marilyn.
I got on.
I see that. Good job. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Sarah, you want some snacks?
Oh, maybe I'll check out what you have over there.
Just got the good cookies.
Nadine, where was the dog when you were in rehab?
Do you know Harriet Pack? She's my dog walker. They took her. Now I'm gonna have to have shared custody because they love her, her husband loves her.
Thank you.
Everybody, and she loves them.
You coming?
I don't need to. How are you? Hey, how are you?
She's still like that. She loves these guys.
This is a really good one. I like that.
Good.
I'll sign you in. I don't know why I'm teasing you. I know you are.
Hi.
Right.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Very
How's the baby?
It's beautiful.
Good, good. A little rocky there.
It was a little crazy, but I'm grateful. My daughter's son is so good at sending videos and pictures and.
Nice.
like, We'll see, once she starts working again, she's not home. I'm expecting it will taper off.
And so then, do they have daycare or?
The plan, we'll see how it goes. She can't start working until the end of May. She's on maternity leave from the government.
Okay.
So if she gets this job, she'll start in June, it'll be part-time, and they're hoping that my son-in-law will bring the baby with him when he goes to Yeshiva in the morning while she's working, and then she'll be, that's sort of the plan. First time he brought the baby to Yeshiva did not work well, but he's gonna try again tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes.
Good luck. Andy, is anyone viewing with you? No?
No, sorry, she just had to take a quick phone call.
No, I just wanna make sure that we're not missing any, like, that I'm not missing anyone. For credit.
What?
Kind of a job is she getting?
Interview, second interview, callback interview, which is good tomorrow with the local government in a Frost, which is like 10 minutes for her. It's a social work position, working with kids with special. So it's only a 6 month position because of that, she can cover for somebody else on maternity leave. But she's hoping to get the foot in the door, right?
Lizzie.
Well, then maybe, look, yeah, because of you. Gotta start somewhere.
I'll sign it.
Exactly, who knows? And they're really probably only just say another 14 months where they're living there. So she doesn't need something like. Here's the trust. It's like Stephen.
They wanna move to.
They're thinking maybe Norm, because he's doing a program in Haifa, and right now it's 1 day a week, so it's drive there 1 day a week, but next year it'll be more, so that would be.
What makes the people really old now?
All right,
When tell Sippy that you'll keep going there for next year. Which is good.
All right, we're gonna get started. Thank you for coming on Zoom. Thank you for coming in person. We have the pleasure of learning with Kai Yael Gardner Mishlove today. She is the Director of Advocacy and Alliances for JCRC, which is Jewish Community Relations Council at the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, possibly the longest title. But she brings us all of her knowledge, and I asked her to do this for the good year, and I'm so happy she agreed. And I'm so excited to learn with you from her. And with that, I'll let her get started.
Welcome. I'm so happy to be here with everybody. As Nicole mentioned, I'm Kai. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Alliances for the JCRC at the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. And what that means is I build bridges between the Jewish community and non-Jewish communities. And so part of that work is educating people about making sure that we increase awareness about diversity and all of the myriad of issues that are affecting the Jewish community and other communities. So today I'm going to talk to you about Jews around the world. I want you to know that when I first put this together, it had 85 slides. I was told you can only have 20, so I negotiated down to 42. So I'm going to try to get through it, but it's just to tell you that there's so many different angles that we could take when looking at this, this subject. Diversity means a lot of things. It means not only ethnically, but also it means regarding language. It means regarding nationality, which country you're coming from, and your level of observance. And whether you're an observant Jew or non-observant, or maybe you're secular, maybe you're atheist. There's so many different ways. But before we start, I wanted to know if we could introduce ourselves to each other, because I don't know. I know maybe 2 people in this room. So I'd love to know where everyone is coming from, your name, what you do, and what you're hoping to hear from.
I'm Clarita Wallace, and I teach 1-year-olds, and I love it.
I'm Elizabeth Kaiser. I teach 2 3-year-olds and 92-year-olds.
I'm Diana Turner, and I serve at both county locations, but for many, many years, I sold advertising to the Jewish Front in the Federation.
I'm Nadine Sigmund, and I was teaching in Israel and had 8 kids in 2nd through 4th grade. And I'm recuperating.
good.
Thank you.
I'm Sarah Muffa, and I'm in Gardner, Cape Board, 2 years.
I'm Timmy, I work in Federation.
Nicole, Federation.
I can't tell who's.
If anyone online wants to unmute themselves and say who's here.
Uh, what did you say, Nicole?
Go ahead and say your name and where you teach.
Okay, Marilyn Crar. I teach at Sinai.
Thank you, Marilyn. Welcome.
Hello,
Karen?
everyone. I'm Shraddha Vyas, and I'm art specialist at Ganami, Macwan, and Whitefish Bay.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Ray, and I teach at K4 in Ganami.
I'm Karen Faust. I'm the director at Ganami Mequon, and I teach all ages.
I'm Lisa Kaleko, and I work at Milwaukee Jewish Day School, and I work with kids in K3 through 8th grade.
I'm Carrie Barberkoff, and I work at Congregation Emmanuel of Waukesha, and I work with kids 2nd through 9th grade.
Is that everyone? All right, thank you. All right, so I know that we may be coming with different levels of understanding or awareness about this. So I just want to say that I'm not an expert. We're all experts of pieces of things. And so I'm grateful to be here for this opportunity. So today, these are some of the objectives that I thought that we would go over. We're going to explore global Jewish diversity, understand the roots of Jewish diversity, and the migration patterns that have happened. I'm hoping that we'll become inspired, if you're not already inspired, to create and share inclusive Jewish content with your students. And I want to thank all of you for being great teachers. It's hard to be an educator, so I want to say thank you for that. I'm hoping that we can create opportunities for, diverse Jewish cultural engagement in the classroom and in our communities outside of the classroom. It would be nice to disrupt stereotypes and also learn about the culturally diverse platforms and networks that I'm going to give you resources that you can use later. So, who are the Jews, right? Diverse religious, cultural, ethnic group with origins in the Middle East, and I wanted to play this 1-minute video for you. Any thoughts about that video that you just saw? Any surprises?
When I be reading, I know, most Jewish people read the, Torah, but I be reading the Bible and I be getting confused, like when Pharaoh had them in bondage. Cause it sounds to me, it sounds like the slaves, and it sounds like that too, so that's what I be getting don't understand. Cause it sounds like it's the slaves, like put on the boats too, but and it's the Jews too, so that I get discombobulated with that.
The Jews were slaves in Egypt, yes. We tell the Passover story, the story of Exodus. So, but we can always talk about that later on, but thank you for bringing that up. So what I want to really concentrate on is the challenges and also the resilience, right? So Jewish populations are primarily the two largest countries, Israel and the United States. But that's not the whole story because of migration patterns and where other smaller communities may live also. Keep in mind that because of persecution, disbursement, Jews are all over the world. The 12 tribes were sent all over the world, were in exile. And then things such as persecution, the pogroms, meaning this was before the Holocaust, where people were persecuted and basically expelled from their country where they were living. And then the Holocaust, which we all know about in this room. And so all of that has led to disbursement and also identity as well. What we're dealing with now, what I deal with all the time at the JCRC is the resurgence and mainstreaming of anti-Semitism, meaning hatred of Jews based on the fact that, based on a person being Jewish. And that's another story, but I just want that to be in everyone's mind right now. That's what we're dealing with right now. We had a 900% increase of anti-Semitic incidents over the last year.
Here in Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee. Yeah, yeah. All right, so here's a little bit of a quick timeline, basically tracing, where the Jews come from. And from the, 1200 to 500 before Christ, right? Ancient Israelite kingdoms. Then we have the Babylonian exile. And then we have the destruction of the Second Temple. And that's when the major disbursement happens. And then we have the Middle Ages with Jewish communities spread out across Europe, North Africa, Middle East, etc. Now within here, I also want to say that around this time also, we'll come to that, there are also Jews that were kicked out of Middle Eastern countries in North Africa to be dispersed also. So that's a story that doesn't often get highlighted often, but that's a part of the story too. And so I don't know if people remember the expulsion of Jews from Spain, 1492. That sent Jews around the world. We had a massive migration to the US even before the Holocaust, but then it intensified during the Holocaust at the establishment of Israel in 1948. And I'm sorry, I'm seeing now that these slides aren't that, it's hard because of the color. So please forgive me if you have any vision problems and you're having trouble seeing that. And now we're in the 21st century, right, where we've got the global disbursement and also a revival of knowledge about, of folks wanting to know about the global diversity of the Jewish people. These are the top 12 Jewish countries, areas where most of the Jews in our world live. So you see the US is right up there, right up behind Israel, but then we have significant populations. You see there are more Jews in South Africa than Hungary. So you see, and then 112 in Ukraine, et cetera, Argentina has a significant presence, Jewish population, Canada as well, France. So these are the top 12, but not the only places where Jews live. Here's more information. These are like from the previous slide, notable communities. I was just in Mexico City and was pleasantly surprised at the huge population of Jewish communities there, from people who had migrated during the Holocaust, but also since then. So you had a lot of communities where people had come from Lithuania or from Germany who would settle. And whenever Jews have settled, even though we remain separate to a certain extent, we also take on the cultural characteristics of other communities. So Israel is home to the largest Jewish population in the world. And Israel is a very diverse country. For anyone who's been there, you walk through Jerusalem, you walk through Tel Aviv, you will be really surprised because that's not what we're shown here, and just how diverse the population is. Africa and the Middle East, we have Jews who come from Morocco, South Africa, Iran, And, you know, these are folks who all have ancient roots. Jews have ancient roots in these regions. There are also Jewish communities in Asia and the Pacific, in India and Australia and China. And folks have diverse stories to tell and experiences in all of these countries. Latin America, as I mentioned before, Argentina has the largest Jewish population. But there are also vibrant communities throughout Latin America, not only in Argentina. Now, diversity means not only ethnic or nationality or language, it also means your level of religious practice, if you do practice. Being Jewish means being a people. It's not just a religion, it's a people. So there are folks who are Orthodox, conservative, reform, and secular, and everywhere in between, and maybe a combination of those things. Now I want to talk about the lesser known Jewish communities. You know, folks who have, were spread out throughout the world, but we have distinct characteristics in all of those places that were spread out. The Beta Israel community, the Ethiopian Jews, is an ancient Jewish community from Ethiopia with roots stretching back many, many centuries, from Solomon and Sheba, if anyone knows that story of Solomon and Sheba. Many of the majority of Ethiopian Jews now live in Israel, but there's still some who are still in Ethiopia. And so a lot of the traditions of that community are pre-Talmud really. So it's, oops, sorry. Okay, sorry. And so, for example, I'm thinking of, and we'll talk a little bit about food, but I'm thinking about Shabbat practice. On Friday nights when people are observing Shabbat with that big Friday night dinner. Challah in the US is what's usually served, which is, everybody knows what challah is, right? The bread, braided bread. But in Jewish Ethiopian communities, it could be dabo, which is a bread that is, it's a bread that rises, but it's in a circle. And I think I have a picture of it that I can show you. And it's got black seed in it. And that is their tradition, to use dabo, and also to use injera, which is a flat fermented bread, as a part of the Shabbat practice, and dinner in general, meals in general. We have Indian Jews known as the B'nai Israel, Cochin Jews and Baghdadi Jews. And a lot of those communities have long-standing presence in India with a lot of distinct customs. And so it's a blending of Jewish and Indian culture. Because remember, whenever you're dispersed or you're living in a new country, you take on new characteristics, but you maintain something. So for example, with the Jewish community, if you keep kosher, you're never gonna mix, for example, meat and dairy. So in Indian cuisine, you might be using coconut milk as a substitute in order to keep something kosher if you're going to be serving a meat dish. The Kafeng Jews, the Chinese Jews in China, this is many, many centuries back towards the Silk Road. And it was a thriving community many, many centuries ago, but it's largely assimilated right now. But the interest in that heritage, there are people who are returning to that heritage, who are coming from that community. But when you look at this picture, and these are Chinese Jews from way back when you look, most people looking at this picture may not think that these were Jews, that these were folks who were Jews, but they're wearing head coverings, but they have taken on the cultural beauty. You know, every culture has its own beauty, but they're taking on the cultural characteristics of that culture. And then we have the mountain Jews from Azerbaijan, Dagestan, who speak Jahuri, and they maintain cultural traditions also, you know, living in the Caucasus Mountains. And there are a group of Azerbaijan Jews who live in Madison, who I had the pleasure to work with when I was there. So this is a very, very ancient community, and they really do live in the mountains, you know, and they're very, very proud of their culture. This is the family that I met in Madison a couple of years ago, and they maintain their cultural traditions from Azerbaijan. And one thing that they mentioned to me is that Azerbaijan was a very, very welcoming community to the Jews until recently, where there have been increased incidences of anti-Semitism. We've got the Bukharian Jews, which the majority of this population lives in Queens, New York, if anyone is familiar with New York, any of the boroughs. And so they also trace their history back centuries. And a lot of their cultural and linguistic traditions are very much distinct in that it's from that region of the world, but they're also blending in with American Jewish culture too, and Ashkenazi Jewish culture. And does everybody know what I mean when I say Ashkenazi?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry for using terms that I'm, using from my own brain and not remembering that everybody doesn't know. So when I'm mentioning Ashkenazi, that's the majority of the Jewish population in the US. And keep in mind that many folks who are Ashkenazi were exterminated during the Holocaust. So we have the remainder of that.
Those are Jews that come from Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe.
Germany.
Yes, thank you. Eastern Europe. And so when a lot of these cultures that I'm talking about right now, many who moved to the US who were part of the Jewish community, but might have been Bukharian and might have been from one of the other communities, intermarried, just like they did in Israel with folks from Eastern Europe and from Western Europe who were Jewish. So sometimes, with that blend, some of these distinct cultural traditions may have been more assimilated. And this is a beautiful synagogue. I think that was in Azerbaijan. And then we have the Ugandan Jews, the Abudaya. I know that which synagogue here sells some of their items. So yeah, Beth Israel sells some of their items. They have beautiful kippot or head coverings that they crochet by hand and covers for challah, and it's really, really beautiful. And so this group is a more recent group. And they are, sometimes some of them will visit the United States, and they've been on tour via a group called Kulanu. So very distinct traditions, African food that might be a little bit different, is a little bit different, West African food or East African food than what Jews from Eastern Europe or Western Europe may have experienced. But it's it's still Jewish food, very much where meat and dairy are not mixed, et cetera, et cetera. And then we've got the crypto Jews. These are the Jews mostly in Latin America who were forced to hide. So basically they practiced their Judaism in secret. So they were forced to convert to Catholicism, but on the side, they were still practicing Judaism. So maybe meaning that they may have been attending mass and they may have changed their names or changed their way of dress, but at home on Friday nights during Shabbat, they may have been secretly lighting candles, and then sometimes that stopped totally, but then their descendants may have traced their ancestry back. And with Judaism, it's matrilineal lineage, unless there was conversion. And so there are many people who are figuring out who may not have known that they were Jews, but they were able to trace their lineage and figure out that their mother, their grandmother, et cetera, on their maternal line, that these were folks who were Jews. And the Lemba Jews, and this is a group in Zimbabwe and South Africa where they're not universally recognized as being Jewish, but their oral history traces them back to the Middle East, and some of the genetic markers are showing that there are markers that link them genetically to the Jewish people. And then Jews of color in the US, and this includes people like myself who may be Black, Latino, Asian, or from indigenous communities or multiracial communities. And this represents a growing population in the US right now. It's estimated to be about 20%, between 15 to 20%. A lot of the folks are younger generations. You may have students in your classrooms who are from some of, who are Jews of color.
And our community study that's coming out in June shows interesting things about this. Only about 5% of the adults in Milwaukee are Jews of color, identify as Jews of color, but 15% children identify as Jews of color.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be a growing
Population. And when you go to the coast, like California or New York or DC, you'll see a much larger diverse Jewish population, with Jews of color represented. Like there's an Orthodox shul in a synagogue in DC that is all Black and Orthodox. And these are folks who moved from Crown Heights to DC. Crown Heights is like the epicenter of 770, right?
Well, it used to be Williams.
It still is.
It still is, but that's
Chabad is
different,
in,
yeah, Williamsburg has a different Orthodox community than, Chabad is in Crown Heights, but anyway. So I mentioned this to say that as educators, when if you're trying to educate about Jewish history or Jewish people or the community, it's important to have representation for kids, even if the kids you're teaching are not, for example, Jews of color. It's important for them to see that they've done studies that, kids as early as 6 months old recognize skin color differences, and by 4 they recognize they've been exposed to stereotypes that they may have taken on. So to expose folks to the diversity about what, there's no one way for someone to look Jewish, that doesn't exist, that Jews exist all over the world. That's important, not only for Jews who are from different diverse communities, but also for those who aren't, because it's good for everybody. So I always encourage to dispel any kind of stereotypes about who someone is. Now, this is a group that a lot of people don't know about, Native American Jews. This picture was taken from a Rosh Hashanah New Year celebration that we fused with the indigenous community, the Native American community, Oneida and Menominee here, with folks who were Jewish. These are folks whose moms were Jewish, who had tribal affiliation, and they retain much of their Native American culture in addition to their Jewish culture. So you see this woman right here, she has on a ribbon skirt, which is a very important piece of clothing within the Native American community, especially when you're doing such as what we were doing that day, which is a fire. A fire is when people come together and sort of meditate and you throw different symbolic items into the fire it's sort of like a renewal. And this was during the Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. So it was very meaningful for us to do this.
That was here in Milwaukee.
That was here in Milwaukee at Allison's Garden. She allowed us to use it. And I mentioned Jews of color before. This woman right here, Alana Kaufman, is the lead of the Jews of Color Initiative Project, and they fund a lot of JLC or Jew of Color projects, major philanthropists. This was a women's march that this was the Wisconsin group that attended this march back in 2019 when Jewish women were attempting to push Jewish women out of the march. We attended the march. This is my daughter right here. She's 30 now, but she was very little there. And these are some other folks who are notable from the community. Yavila McCoy, who grew up centuries of Orthodox communities in Crown Heights. That's where her family's from. And this is the gentleman, Shai Risung, also from Crown Heights, who started the shul in DC. Now, these are some of the personal narratives I just wanted to, just to give you an idea of what people are talking about who are from these different communities and why it's important for us to hear their narratives and also to assist in making sure that people are aware that they exist and that they are important to our community, to the Jewish community. So we have, this Latin American Jew who says, my grandparents came to Argentina from Europe. At home, we speak Spanish, but we also keep Jewish traditions alive. Our synagogue is a place where culture and religion come together. I was with somebody here in Milwaukee who's from Colombia, who's also Israeli. And when we were out and we were at an event that was a Latin American event, she was speaking, Spanish fluently. And, she alternated between Spanish and Hebrew with folks who were Israeli at this event too. So that just shows you, the biculturalness of the experience. And then the Ethiopian Israeli Jew. I grew up hearing my grandparents' stories of Ethiopia and the journey to Israel. At home, we keep traditions passed down for generations. But at school, I speak Hebrew and I learn modern Israeli culture. My identity connects both worlds. We have the Indian Jewish heritage, the Limba community member, the American Jew of color. The most, and I won't read them all, but the most important thing is to know that people we're multicultural people, and some people retain all aspects of that culture, and that doesn't make them any less or more Jewish than anyone else. Diversity among Jewish US college students, which kind of moves back to what Zippy was saying about that latest study that we did. How are people identifying? 15% of Jewish US college students identify as a Jew of color. 20% identify as having a disability, and 1 in 3 identify as Jews, but not practicing any religion. And I think that confuses some people because they think of Judaism or being Jewish as the equivalent of like a different flavor of Christianity or something, or, Catholic versus Baptist or something. And it's not like that. It's a people. It's a nation. Why so many people identify as having a disability, and what kind of disabilities are we talking about? I don't have the detail about what that disability is, but I think we have disabilities that are, it's almost like the iceberg, what you see, visual disabilities, and then what you don't see. So this remember this was a survey that was taken, and there's usually underreporting in surveys. So this doesn't mean that there's an increase, but it may mean that more folks have identified or been diagnosed.
I was gonna say that, I think that's true if you think about the younger generation. I think that there are many kids in college now who not only are diagnosed and are comfortable with the diagnosis and are really okay saying, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have ADHD, whatever. They're not embarrassed by it because it's become much more normalized, thank God. And things are labeled that work, right?
It just seems odd that that would be an issue for this survey. I mean,
why do they ask about it?
why they ask?
I think it's another type of disability, diversity, right?
Yeah.
Disability.
Yeah, it is. It is another type of diversity. So I wanted to talk about some holidays that aren't well known. These aren't all the Jewish holidays. These are holidays that, if you're not a part of that community, you may not be aware of. So Mumuna, which is the end of Passover, this is something that was popularized by really a part of the culture of the Moroccan Jews. It's where you're giving out sweets, and it's a lot of hospitality. Folks are visiting each other. This is also a time that in Morocco where Muslim families and Jewish families would get together and share sweets. Sig in Ethiopia, which is another renewal holiday. And it's where it said that the Torah was received by that community. And I do have some pictures on another slide that shows what that looks like. You see these big, beautiful umbrellas, colorful umbrellas that people are walking through the streets of Israel with. And then we have Kurdish Jews who celebrate this spring festival, Saharang. And then we have this, in India, the Huli Dola, which is the celebration of Elijah. And it's like a Thanksgiving sort of holiday. And then here more and more I'm seeing Pesach Sheni.
I was just like
celebrated. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. And then, with all of these holidays, it's a theme of community, which is very important in the Jewish community, renewal, identity, and, it's broken down sometimes by regions, by how it's observed. Mumuna, this is the picture I wanted to show you. Look at these sweets. So when you're looking at this plate, many people might say, oh, that's Jewish. This is something that comes from the Middle East. Cultures adapt to where they are. And Jews come from the Middle East, right, originally. So this is I've had the pleasure of having all of these sweets, and they're very, very good, I'll just have to tell you. And so a lot of these same sweets are prepared within the Muslim community as well. Very, very good. Not good for you if you are a diabetic, but very, very good otherwise. It symbolizes, friendship, giving, community, etc.
Well, every Jewish event is revolves around.
Yes. Yes, yes.
What holiday doesn't involve food?
Exactly. Food, yeah.
There is a.
There is a-
Because even the fast days start with food and end.
Yes, and end with food.
Absolutely. Which is a good thing.
And this is the picture of Seek that I wanted to show you. So this woman right here, her name is Bejani Barthany. She is the owner of it's in New York. It's a restaurant in New York that was targeted by folks who were anti-Semites. But anyway, she is Israeli and Ethiopian, and she's written a book called Gersha, which in Amharic means to feed someone. That's a custom where you're feeding your friend or your neighbor with the injera and the food. And so she has a cookbook out that celebrates Ethiopian Jewish cooking. And it's very, very good if you have a chance to pick it up. So Sikh is a holiday that's celebrated 50 days after Yom Kippur. And it commemorates the acceptance of the Torah, right? Which is different, than when we celebrate.
Well, Shavuot is 50 days after Passover.
Mhm.
So that's really interesting. It's the 50
Very
days.
interesting, yeah. So it's fasting, prayer, pilgrimage, and it's officially recognized in Israel. Now I was going to talk about clothing a little bit, traditional clothing. And it varies, clothing varies by region, by tradition. And it often reflects the local culture in addition to, the culture and your origins. And it can include modest dress, head coverings, or ritual garments, and it may not. And so it's just important to avoid any kind of stereotypes. I keep saying there's no single way to look Jewish, right? So this is an example of an Ashkenazi, but Orthodox community. And I'm not sure, these aren't Baburs, I'm not sure exactly which sect or Satmars, which Orthodox community this is, but these are men with the payas, with the locks on the side of their heads. You can't see the prayer shawls, but you see this is an Eastern European look, right? With the long coats and the stockings and the shoes. And that's modest.
It's an area down here in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Where, yeah,
Sherman Park.
that's how they wear the kids, and when me and my husband go out there and we see all the time. I told him to ride slow, cause that is so beautiful to me, to see the little kids out there, the little girls with their little dress that is modest.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of us growing up, we had to wear long dresses like that
Like
too,
that,
to keep
too.
them covered. Yeah, that is beautiful over there though.
Yeah. There's similarities in cultures regarding modesty, and dress. Okay, Sephardi and Mizrahi tradition. So Sephardi meaning from South America, Mizrahi, Middle East. And so looking at this picture, knowing what you know or what you see here in the US, would you know that these are Jewish people? No, many wouldn't, but this is traditional Jewish dress.
It's like in Ethiopia.
Well, this is from like areas like Iran,
Okay.
Azerbaijan, really north Morocco, North Africa, and in the Middle East. So these are traditional robes and tunics and stuff. This is some of this clothing is traditional Ethiopian clothing. And a lot of folks from the community wear traditional white garments like this, very beautiful. Indian Jewish clothing tends to be saris. That's what, within the Indian community, that's what women wear. And so that was taken on by the Jewish community. This picture right here is, this is by Siona Benjamin, who comes from generations of Indian Jews. She lives in Montclair. The Jewish Museum featured her a couple of years ago. We did a food event and also an art event. And so if you look at this picture, this is her fusing, especially Hinduism with Jewish imagery as well. See this, you see the clothing right here, the blue, which is something that's very characteristic of Hindu paintings. And you see this, the Hanukkah. Jewish languages, remember languages adapt. Ladino, for example, is a language that fuses Hebrew and Spanish. So a lot of Jewish communities have combined some of the languages. There are folks who speak combinations of Hebrew and Arabic, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just like clothing, just like food, things get fused. Anybody figure out where the Hebrew is on this slide?
Yeah, right there.
Right there. Okay. So why is it important to teach about Jews around the world? All the things we've been talking about, it promotes understanding of diversity within a global religious and cultural group, supports inclusive and multicultural education, connects to broader themes about diaspora, encourages critical thinking, right? That's what we want from our students, and empathy, highlights global history, migration, cultural exchange, and it challenges stereotypes about what is Jewish. So these are, more pictures of Jewish diversity. I'm going to show you this quick video. This is the artist that I told you about, Siona Benjamin, who comes from generations of Indian Jews. This is a tile that she made for a synagogue that you can't really see from this picture, but there's Hebrew writing fused throughout. And this poster is a famous poster from the 70s because Jews come in all colors. This is a wedding, a Jewish wedding. Unfortunately, it was the chuppah and everything was cut out of this picture. Chuppah is like the covering that presides over the couple as they're getting married. That was cut off also, but this is a wedding actually in India, Jewish wedding in India. And then I just want to show you this video real quick. I don't know if everybody saw this. Do I have the sound? Okay.
No, you gotta push the little button there.
Here.
Keep left. There.
Oh, sorry. Let me.
I read online, Kai, that Sesame
Yes.
Street's getting a lot of.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. So Sesame Street put out that video, or it was a segment of it's been so long, my kids are in their 30s since I've watched Sesame Street, but anyway, that was a part of a Sesame Street show. Because this month, May, is Jewish American Heritage Month. It's also API Heritage Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. But they put this out and they've gotten so much hate about it, anti-Semitic hate. So we're living in real crucial times right now, where, the Jewish community is really being hated. What is the reason to hate that video? What could be the reason? Like Kat Graham, she's a famous actress, I think from, I don't know where she's from originally. I may be confusing her with someone else, but she comes from a long line, maternal side of Eastern European Jews and African Americans on her father's side. And then, oops, no, why do you do that? Sorry. I wanted to show you what we have going on next. Oh, sorry.
While you're doing that, Terry said they couldn't hear the video, so I said we would send, I'll send them like a video.
Okay, so sorry, we'll send that out.
Send them.
So what I want to kind of leave you with is no community is monolithic. We just scratched the surface here today. I couldn't go into detail and answer as many questions as I would have liked to have. But you know, even with we share memories, traditions, etc., nobody is monolithic, right? I may have different opinions or dress differently than someone else who may come from my same background, etc., etc. The most important thing to remember is Jewish people, like all people, are not monolithic. We're a global people. We're diverse, and we have different ways that we express our culture, our religious practices, traditions, etc., etc. And we're all interrelated. Every Jewish community, no matter where you are in the world, is reading from the same Torah portion. And that's a little different than Christianity, right? No matter where you are in the world, reading from the same Torah portion, and the language of Hebrew unites us as well. The prayers are all the same, you know, the accent might be different, but it's still the same. And then this is I'm gonna send this out to you. I'm sorry, it looks a little small here, but these are all a lot of different resources that you can tap into if you want to learn more about certain Jewish communities. And also, you can't see this, but this is thank you in every language possible. And I really do want to thank you for having me here today. And then this, I couldn't leave without telling you about this exhibit. So at the Jewish Museum, we have an exhibit that's going on right now.
All the way through the summer.
All the way through the summer, yes, until September 6th. It's our 48 Jews exhibit, and basically it's exploring all of the different identities and different people who are the 48 of the different people, 48 Jews. It's a sample, right? It's a sample of.
Sample facts right there in a minute.
Yeah, you see what Bob Dylan here, what we got.
That's not, that's
Ginsburg.
Hank Greenberg.
Oh, that's Hank Greenberg? It looks just like Bob Dylan to me.
No, that's Bob Dylan.
That's not Sandy Koufax?
Oh,
That's Bob, I'm Josephing this exhibit. so
oh, yes, yes. And does everybody know who this is?
Oh. Goes to my.
Yes, Milwaukee connection.
And do you know who the bottom right is? The bizarre picture. Sally Wiesel.
Uh-huh. And does anyone know who this is? Okay, this is a woman who was a cantor. Black American cantor, not Jew.
Saying cantorial music.
Sang cantorial, yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. She sang cantorial music. She was not Jewish, but she was very fluent in the tradition. And so she, during the Harlem Renaissance and vaudeville era, she was touring the country with cantorial music.
She's from Milwaukee.
She's from Milwaukee, I forgot to say that, yes. So we got like Milwaukee, I think these are the only two Milwaukeeans right here.
I think it's Central Synagogue in New York she was a cantor and now she's a cantor and a rabbi.
Oh, Angela Blumenthal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's
she's
from South.
She's from South Korea,
Yeah.
yes, she is. Her parents were from South Korea. She wasn't born there. I don't
Well,
think.
but her
Yeah.
heritage, yeah.
Yeah, and so there are a couple of rabbis who are from, who are Jews of color. She's one of them. There's a rabbi who's Filipino named Rabbi Mira Rivera, who heads up the JCC in Manhattan. She does a lot of, she's not the executive director of the JCC, but she does a lot she holds a lot of Shabbats and other events, Torah study there. And then the list is long.
Tiferes.
Yeah, Tiferes, who
Milwaukee.
used to be here, who's African American. She moved back to Boston.
Rabbi Isaiah.
Yes, Rabbi Isaiah Rothstein, who's at the Jewish Federation of North America. He's a part of the outreach group and he's a rabbinic scholar. He's amazing, comes from the Orthodox community, grew up in Muncie. If anybody knows Muncie, New York, very much, yes.
That's what my sister got married.
Yeah.
But now she moved back here.
And he heads up a synagogue in Crown Heights, is it Crown Heights? Yeah, not Crown Heights, Brooklyn, in Brooklyn. somewhere in Brooklyn.
Oh, Crown Heights.
Yeah, Crown Heights is in Brooklyn, but I don't think, I'm not sure. I think it's a different point of Crown Heights. And then I wanted to invite you all to this. So we're here talking about Jewish diversity. And I talked a little bit about the Sephardic and Mizrahi experience. We have a event going on as a part of the 48 Jews exhibit. It's going to be on May 27th. That's that was in a couple of weeks, Wednesday, 7 to 8. We're bringing in Sarah Levin, who is originally from Chicago. She's the executive director of Jemena, Jews Indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. She's based out in San Francisco, but we're bringing her in to speak about the North African and Middle Eastern experience of Jews. And so her organization is also a part of that resource list that's in this PowerPoint that I encourage you to follow her. And does anyone have any questions? We have 6 minutes.
You guys gonna show those books?
Oh, yes, sorry. These books.
Okay. Those of us who participated in the Shalom Curriculum Project.
Stop sharing with me.
Okay,
Let's see, how do I? Thank
There you
you.
go.
Sorry for being a Luddite.
there we go. For those of us who participated in the Shalom Curriculum Project, as promised, we have all of these books. And we just have to get some nameplates in them and then they will be in your hands. There's been some mix up with that. So that's what's taking so long, but we've had these for quite a while outside of Zippy's office. So this variety of books. So did you get a chance to look at them at all?
No.
But yeah, so hopefully.
So that your kids will see diversity in the classroom.
And we did
I
go
don't
over.
think I've ever heard some really good
Yeah,
ones.
and it's just giving you more.
Mhm. We did touch on this presentation on all of these different communities.
We talked about Jews in India, we didn't talk about the name Menashe.
Yes.
There's a whole effort to help bring the Jews, the B'nai Menashe group to Israel right now on the app, because I think things are not great.
They are good.
In India. So.
No.
Does anyone have any questions for Kai? I see something in the.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very interesting.
Ethiopian Christians around the world follow a unified spiritual tradition, observing the same scripture readings and prayers in alignment with the liturgical, can't say that word.
Liturgical.
Yes, calendar. Regardless of location, the same passages are read and reflected upon during each holiday, demonstrating a shared faith practice and deep sense of global spiritual connection.
Which
like
group is
Jewish
it?
Torah.
Orthodox
Ethiopian
Christian.
Christian.
Yeah, Ethiopian Orthodox Christian.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, that's really cool.
Karen said, thank you, Ms. Guy, this was wonderful, so glad I came. Excellent, learned a lot, thanks for the great presentation.
I want to share one more thing. So the annual meeting for Federation is on June.
For the Federation or for the JCRC?
No, June 8th, I think. How much, 18th?
I think so.
I don't know. We're going to be presenting the community study. It's going to tell you about the demographics in Milwaukee. But in addition to the big demographic study we did, Federation worked with a group called TU to study Jews of color in Milwaukee. We wanted to get a better sense, and so that study will also be rolled out. And we're hoping Federation right now is going through a strategic planning process, and I'm hoping that the community study and the study from TU will help inform us and help us think about how we can be more inclusive and more welcoming to Jews of color. But one of the interesting things that came out of the study was the biggest difference is not even what institutions are doing, but it's what individuals are doing and how welcoming we can be as individuals in our synagogues, in our schools, everywhere else to make Jews of color feel welcome. So I think by coming here today and learning from Kai, I think by using these books and all of this, that each of us has the opportunity to really make a difference of being more inclusive.
Did you send a list of those books for those of us who are not Shalom program?
We can add that when we send out, yeah? So we can send out a list of those books after so people came to the class.
Sure.
Absolutely.
When is that discussion going to be about Jews of color? When is it going to be rolled out?
The meeting?
No, that'll be this summer. I'm looking up when the annual meeting is.
Oh, it's June 18th.
June 18th. I think it's June 18th. It'll be rolled out this summer. It's actually the tool that's eventually gonna be up on the internet. It will have the whole study on the internet. There's also gonna be this thing that you can play with it. So let's say it tells you, I think it was 54% of adult Jews in Milwaukee have been to Israel at least once. But if you wanted to know how many women have been to Israel at least once, you could adjust it to that. Or if you wanted to know how many people 70 years and older, you could adjust it to that. So there are all sorts of ways you're gonna be able to play with the data and really understand it better. So eventually it's gonna all end up on the website and be very interesting to play with.
I have one more question. What's the name of that Orthodox Black synagogue in DC?
I'm gonna pull it up right now. Oh,
And are non-people of color allowed to go there?
Yeah, it's just that they,
That's just
is, like,
mostly.
yeah. But anyone can go, yeah. I'm finding it for you right now. I have to look at my LinkedIn, sorry.
I didn't mean to.
It just sent me a message saying, can you let people know about this?
I have a Black grandchild who lives in DC.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm having trouble getting in. Can I email it to you or I can?
Sure, of course.
I'll get your email address from, okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, make it. Yeah.
Well, how it goes.
Oh, there.
Do you hear Marilyn?